At a certain point, then for me, which is why I step aside of that, it's like my big, I dodge that shit by just staying in the realm of increasing the efficacy of the motion through geometry.
Right.
Seriously, because you are correct. Who does get credit?
Yeah.
You can stay in that conversation, or you could talk about the correct way to do it, or you could talk about the correct situation to put together dynamically, or you could talk about the correct pressure that needs to happen for this type of that.
Yeah.
And dude, that is a rabbit hole, and there are so many fucking experts in that rabbit hole that I have met where I'm like, that guy can kick my ass. Yeah. That guy can outshoot me. Yeah. This guy over here sitting next to me has actually stabbed people, right? Like real SEALs, real actual spec operators, et cetera, et cetera. So for me, I stay outside of that. I do pure geometry.
And I
let people, well, right, exactly. Like I let people get, like there's been misinterpretation about me, as you've heard as well.
Oh,
There's been a ton of people saying, negativity about this or about that, and I don't respond. I just keep doing my thing, and there's a reason why I'm apprentice underneath. I have respect for the traditional templates. That's why I'm apprenticed under Grandmaster Carlito. I have nothing but love for spec operators and military personnel and people who are willing to defend our freedoms, law enforcement, right? Doesn't matter. And that's why I did the combative knife and all this stuff under Grandmaster Green. And that's why I only volunteer. I only have 2 civilian students that I've ever really pushed to the limits, and that's Ari, who you guys have met, and then Nico Rodriguez. And so who you also met. And so those 2 guys are the guys who have been exposed to all 3 different genres of the training that I put things through, and we have a lot of fun.
The more I listen to you, the more I want to be your girlfriend. Only because it's amazing how you're talking about what you do and with what we do, because we're not traditionalists. I mean, we see things in a different light, much like you do. We talk about the geometry, you and I. We talked about how we see the spirals and how we see these things.
I will say this, though. His take on the difference between traditional and non-traditional, I want to adopt his.
Yeah, well, and that's what I'm saying, because it's just the way you talk about it, and it clears our mind, at least for me anyways. It clears a lot of the things that, because we didn't know what it was. Danny and I didn't know how to label what we were doing. We just said, we came across it by actually doing it and realized, this is da-da-da-da. And we tell you, and you're like, that's this. And we're like, there's a name for it? Because we don't know.
Think about the types of excitement in the martial arts. There's like the competition buzz, and there's that the adrenaline from doing it, and then there's the training buzz that you get through the solo training, and then there's a feeling of discovery where you may have been doing something for 8 to 10 years a certain way or whatever, and then you also have this drill that's supposed to augment this, but it might not necessarily fit, and then when you go live with your sparring, maybe it fits, or all hairy-carry breaks loose, but that one day you have that thing where it ties it all together.
Right.
And that excitement.
Yes.
Right. So I try to, and not even discovery, a sense of relaxation or laying in deeper even into the templates that you already have respect for. So instead of being like, I've figured this new thing out, I've literally gotten into the habit, Carlito, going, hey man, this is what I've realized. I'm just double checking that you already do this. And he'll be like, yep. And then give me 5 to 10 examples and it's like a method of thought, like a layer of frosting over the thing you've already built.
Right.
And so for me, that's the way I approach my training now. It's 100% symmetry on both sides. It's to literally look at the old school templates and realize that there is no separation between my military combatives training, the framework, the timing, the use of spirals and the algorithm, how to do all this stuff, right? Great, those are all applications, but these are shapes, these are structures that you're using. And if you can, my cup of tea is to take the old school stuff and where someone else sees a useless template, being like, nope.
Yeah, I can make that useful.
I know a guy. Is usually my response. Yeah. No, I know a guy, and like he's got a whole system off of this one stuff, and you're just like, right, okay, useless,
bring him.
And then all of a sudden, bring that guy in, and like, oh shit, like one of my favorite examples of that is the really soft-looking motions that you'll see in Tai Chi or Qigong, and the structure and the shape work, that is being used extensively by military personnel in their own use of what they call framing or framework, to be able to create distance to pull secondary weapons like you've never fucking seen. And it's the exact templates that we're learning in these old school forms, right? And so like that type of drawing those parallels, being like, hey, what are you doing with outside one and inside one, with your stuff like this? and you're looking at it. Yeah, thank you. And outside one look is your outside block, and it is your roof, and it is your boom, and that is your cross block. That is the raw motion. And so there you go. And so like my favorite shit like was having a discussion with a karate guy once, and he was talking about his family's lineage, and he swore that he was actually, not
From the original.
Well, yeah, and he was saying that like basically non-commercialized, but my grandfather's grandfather taught. And the only thing he said to me that was extremely convincing is he said, Nick, if you had conscriptures from peasants and you had 1,500 people come in, and the area people who are war people actually needed you to organize the army, you might put them in rows of 10 by 10, and you might all have them do basic strikes. And then you would have, out of those 100 people, 10 of those guys would supervise the rest of the 100.
Right.
But then your eye's really on those 10 to watch them train. And then the guy who's teaching you would be looking, and out of the groups of 10 and 10 and 10, you would pick another 10. And then out of those groups of 10 farmed after 5 years, you would pick one student from each group of 10. And maybe out of those 5 guys, one dude can understand the multi-layers of a set of templates. And he becomes your general.
Right.
Wow.
He becomes the guy who's actually in charge of doing the actual military martial arts. So what better way to hide what you'd want to do, whether it's holding a long weapon and doing an inside motion, or whether that's timing a blade to cut the neck and get inside under the axillary, or whether that's using a shield, or whether that's using a stick or long weapon, than to actually put these things in martial arts forms and make it so that the gross
And that's
motor
what it
skills
is.
are there, and you can literally eyeball which guys have the capability, who have the ingredients for chocolate cake. But you still need the masters, right?
Right.
Right? Okay, so
Oh,
cool.
okay.
So I have this mindset doing this type of stuff and taking a look at it. Well, then do you really care what the martial arts style is? No, you don't.
No,
You're
you
looking for
don't.
the crossover and the templates. You're looking for the respect and the history. And I want to find somebody who is still of what I would consider the old school generations, where they're keeping it. They're librarians, man.
Right.
And they're doing it for that reason. Those are the guys I want to talk to.
Charlie Smith.
Again,
introduce you.
Grandmaster Giron.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Come on. Grandmaster Cabalas, Grandmaster Ron Saturno. Like we can go down the line, right? Jason and A. All these people are lineage holders. They're people that are moving librarians. And when I look at that, that's what really turns my crank. I like taking a look at traditional templates like that through the eyes of geometry.
You cannot be his girlfriend then.
No.
You're not his type.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not his type, damn it.
Yep. Yep.
I was just born a boy. No, but this is crazy stuff, dude. Thank you.
It's
oh
really,
my god.
Well, actually, I was kind of having an epiphany earlier while you were talking about
What?
the sense of how the movements and on all these things and how the soft arts are being used in the military right now. We just talked to this boxer who's starting this program in May.
Tech boxing.
Yeah,
He's calling it boxing tech.
boxing tech, and he literally lies you down, feet prone, up, knees bent, right over your hips, and you just breathe in deep through the diaphragm, and you get a sense. Okay, now you lift and you contract the glutes so you can tuck in the tailbone.
This guy was
All
crazy.
this, and then it eventually leads you up to throwing a cross. And the cross, after we went through the thing, it felt so natural, and I don't box.
Okay.
But oh no, it was a hook.
Yeah, hook.
But the hook came so natural to me. It felt like my body had been doing it for years. Just because I incorporated all the breathing ideas and the techniques and the different forms of, okay, where do you contract this lung
Yeah,
versus
I'd love
the
to.
other?
Any new research, I'm all about it.
Look at
But-
on our tomorrow's episode.
Yeah, tomorrow's
it's called
episode,
Boxing Tech.
it's a
Boxing tech.
promotional for
Boxing
him.
tech,
And he
yeah.
talks about it. But then I started doing the correlation that you were talking about, these movements and what is the focus, and then how does that become combative? And then the idea that you were saying about Qigong and me doing different forms with another grandmaster in San Carlos, Johnny Oliva, CJ
Yeah.
Johnny Oliva.
God, that dude's a monster. He's
And,
great.
and the
He's
way
so good.
he explained the things, and I get why the soft arts work, because it's compressing the entire core to maintain a structure with soft movements. So you can't break it, but you're not straining yourself either. So then you can move freely into transitional movements.
I teach one verbal lesson to everybody who becomes a student in the military, because we only have so much time.
Right.
And so to address what you're talking about, because this is a complex subject. And I mean, again, remember how I was saying experts in an area?
Yeah.
Like there are dudes right now who are on the edge of their seat, and they're just
Yeah,
like, what is
yeah.
this guy about to say, right? Their whole career is on integrated structure through movement. I get it. All right, I get it. But what I like to remind people is just really simply. Okay, so do we acknowledge that the Earth is moving?
Yes.
Can we acknowledge that it's spinning?
Yes.
Excellent. Can we acknowledge that it's moving around the sun?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
So if it's spinning and it's moving around the sun, we have one vector here. One type of a rotational force, centripetal or centrifugal, expanding or contracting. Right. These are all common words, all right? So if gravity's working this way while it's going around, aren't we traveling in a line? Isn't the sun moving inside of a galaxy that is spinning? Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So we have really clever names for the forces that act on our bodies in math or in physics, right? So if we just keep it simple, we want to talk about gravity and weight. Weight is quite literally because of that spin and the travel in what? In a spiral.
In a spiral.
We can all agree upon that. So it doesn't make a difference if you fry like bacon on the ground or if you try to hold perfectly still or whatever else, you're literally still on the curvature of a spiral.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're affected by it all.
So if you're looking at the strength of a mountain, right, and this is what I'll say to the guys, does it have strength because it lifted weights or because it has structure? Structure.
Sure. Of course.
So if you take a look at any of the stance works, all of them are exploring the relationship of the ankle or the ball of the foot through bone structure to the ground.
Right.
Whether it's pressing out, contracting and squeezing, spinning and rotating, swaying back and forth, replacing the foot so that the spine moves, all these different concepts are that mountain. So what we can literally look at is that from the height of the actual scapula on both sides down, right here in the center, down to our feet, that makes our triangle straight out.
Oh.
All right, because obviously, as I'm feet planted on the ground, no matter how I pleat it, hips
You
over,
have,
knees over, shoulders
Right.
over, feet, and
Especially
everybody knows this. Any art, they're like, yeah, boxers will let me show you how to use this, right? And jiu-jitsu guys, let me show you how we. It's great, but it's that same pyramid coming down.
Regardless of what you're doing with this.
Well, right, from the heart down,
Yeah.
it's all the same shit. We can all agree upon that.
Right.
Straight. So then you take a look at your arms. From that point coming out is your lateral spiral, and so therein the algorithm that you'll see.
It even goes to the same point.
Thank you very much. And so basically what I did is I took the nodes of the joints and using old sacred geometry, basically a male triangle and a female triangle, put together the world's first body template based on cymatics or wavelengths.
Right.
And that's what you see up on the wall because we're standing on the earth inside of a fucking arc. And it doesn't matter whether you're locking, punching, throwing, grappling, using a weapon, shooting a gun, bow and arrow. It's got to be, if we're on fucking planet Earth, it's got to be a part of that spiral.
Right.
And so for me, the whole time I've been doing this martial arts thing, it's trying to study different styles of martial arts and meet like-minded people who can see the commonality of all the movements. And nothing gets me more cranked up than to be amongst a group of people that like to talk about that.
The water.
The water,
Yeah.
the water, man. Like I want to talk about what we were swimming through the water.
Yeah.
I was
it's
trying
all
to find
spirals.
reasons to respect him more, and I respect you greatly, but you've convinced me to respect so many other people so much more.
Well, and that's the thing. Like one of the really big, I will say this: one of the really big misunderstandings that I've seen from people who are in this field, when they're looking at, physics and mathematics, and in particular geometry and how it applies to movement.
Right.
They're getting a lot of flashback because the old masters see us like we're trying to skip around the old ways. When in reality, what
trying to
this
explain.
does,
It actually
it revalidates you guys.
everything that
It
they've
makes
said.
it so that you're more necessary. So while I can sit there and I don't know anything about, say, Largo Mano as a style, okay,
Right.
like I'm not a Largo Mano guru.
Right.
I'm not Bahalana or whoever, right? Like guys who are really good at that stuff. But at the same time, we can have these discussions about timing and distance and the arc of the blade and when to
You
retract
can do
and
the science of
elastical.
it rather than the.
And you can explain to me the proper way to do it. Awesome, cool, but I still want to talk about the structure of the water. And it makes it so that the download speed between instructors, when people start getting excited to convey their ideas, there's no separation anymore.
Right. No. Yeah.
And that's what you'll experience when we we
Well,
start playing. It's like,
well,
I do that
it's
my
always
own
been
way,
that.
and then you're like, and then that's that excitement.
Just reminds me of baseball. Because in baseball, you can take trigonometry and you can figure out the force, how hard the ball is hit, the arc, where it's going to land. But a coach will tell you, okay, just put your glove at this height, keep the ball in sight here, and you'll be able to catch it.
You need the older generations to explain. And that's what I keep telling, students and friends of mine, where they say, what about that traditional art that's useless or whatever? And I just shake my head. I'm like no, man.
Yeah. None of them are usually if you're doing it right. I mean, if you think it through and realize, this could be this and that instead of what you're looking at. It's like, no, that's you're seeing it wrong.
I think it's about time we give an example.
Yeah.
We should.
Yeah,
we should.
we need to
get up and
yeah. Folks, we're gonna move that table out of the
We're gonna
way,
reset.
and we're gonna let my good friend Nicholas here beat the crap out of Naeem.
No, we're gonna show examples of what we've been talking about. Wait, does that include beating me up?
Oh yes, I would say
Yeah,
so.
I'm
Sure.
gonna kick my butt.
So, hey guys, welcome back to another. This is a part of our show where we like to do some demonstrations, and this stuff is gonna blow your mind because of the way he talks about the water, which is he's gonna show us that water, and I'm just glad I'm not the recipient. So good luck, Naeem.
Wait, this is a lesson.
It's a lesson, and again, this is Nicholas Moreno. He's gonna show you some crazy, outrageous stuff, and enjoy it. We'll see you guys in a bit.
Shout out to Society Brewing Company.
You want to sponsor us? We're here.
We'll drink a beer in every episode.
Every episode, that's what it should be. That's what you want to cover first.
All right. So,
Question.
how do you show this concept with sticks, and then how does that translate from stick, blade, empty hand?
One of those. All right. So you hold your stick out.
Nope.
What about that?
Okay.
And I'm going to have you start hitting the stick. And what I want you to do is to isolate the power on the way out.
Okay.
All right, you first. Good. Hang on now. No shoulder,
Okay.
no elbow, only wrist. Clench my Hey, there we go. So that's as hard as you got that. Keep that all by
okay.
itself. Okay. Now, hang on. To the best of your ability, allow only just the slightest angulation of your elbow. So to repeat, if I'm holding still, stick only, notice nothing else. Now I add just a little bit of this. Now I add the
wow.
shoulder. Now I drop the ass. Yeah? So we're creating a kinetic chain, yeah?
Yeah.
Everybody seems to know this. Everybody already does this. The Inosanto guys are jumping up and down, ready to probably smash my head in because they're actually experts at this. Okay? And I'm going to throw the knowledge out where it's due, okay? So again, show me just the wrist by clenching and unclenching. Cool. Now use your elbow, wrist on the clench. There you go. Now use a little bit of your shoulder too. Hey, there we go. Now use your hip. Hey, okay, so that's hidden within angle 1, angle 2, angle 3, angle 4, any of these, right? That kinetic chain of understanding, yes? All right, and depending upon when I clench my fist, does that not cast my weapon out?
Yeah.
So now I'm not going to sit here and get into like, hey, this is the proper way or whatever, because to be perfectly truthful, those again, those guys exist. If we start talking about Bahalana and whatever,
Right.
and Largo Mono, they'll start talking about, Kirk McCoon and all the other guys that are out there are going to give you a master lesson on the timing and exactly what to do. But didn't I just create an understanding, quite simply,
Between everything else.
of how to do? Okay, so how to put the spiral into it. Here's a question for you. Let's pretend we're doing this, right? And we're doing 1 and 2 together. You are notice what you just did with your body. You started
Yeah.
doing body language, right? He starts pivoting his feet and starts turning left to right. So here's my question to you. Could you, as the instructor that you are, please explain to me where the power is coming from? Where are you doing your power from?
Oh, my hips.
Your hips.
Yeah.
Keep talking.
Yeah, I'm just rotating from one side to the other. The arms just follow the same path,
Okay.
and then I just direct where I want to point the stick.
Right on. So if we keep this drill up,
Yeah.
and you keep your stick out at the point of contact, and we freeze on the next one, okay? Right about
Okay.
here. Boom. Perfect. Keep that there. So if I took your meaning right, and everybody seems to know this again, you're using the whole body with power. It comes from the hip. Everything comes through. I got one guy that I learned though from who seems to recognize like a spiral around the center of my spine. One teacher, and he taught me to take my left arm to create power on the stick. And I didn't have to swing that side any harder, did I?
No.
But it was because I pulled this side to get the other side, yeah? You felt that?
I felt that shit in my elbow.
Right, yeah. A lot of times the stick goes flying, right? And so here's me. I'm not even swinging harder, and it's not coming from my hips.
Right.
That actually was a centripetal pull from the top view spiral, right? I got another guy when I'm doing this type of a hip. He tells me to think about this shoulder and this hip spiraling its way to the ground. Again, I get all that power, and it's not actually from my hip. Yet at the same time, if I keep everything balanced completely in between, and you can see the vertical spiral, yes?
Yes.
All right, cool, awesome. If you can do that side to side, but I keep that balance, keep that there, and there is no up and down, and there is no swing, isn't that power right there? But didn't the framework not change?
No.
So am I swinging my arm?
No.
Am I using my center? Maybe. Could I use my ass? Could
Well,
I
the
use my
center
right?
is
Could
needed
I
to keep you
could
there,
I
but that's about it.
displace
Yeah.
my actual stance work as I go? You see what I'm talking about? So the point is that you'll have whole styles based upon the footwork, or the timing, or which part of the body they're actually using to pull across. If you listen, but what are we all talking about?
Generating force.
A vertical spiral. You wanted to know how to turn this into what
Yeah.
I see. Yeah, it's the body's ability to rotate here, and then you know how I talked about how it's perpendicular.
Right.
That's the armature of the actual cut in front of you.
So then, depending
a
on
Rubik's Cube.
on what you fit with it or how you like doing it.
Well, dude, check this out. So,
Right.
like, let's say we're working within inside one, and this is our motion, right?
Yeah.
Do that for me, please. Inside one. Good. Play it again. Come on. Everybody knows this. This is what I would call language that everybody understands, so that you all recognize inside one. Okay. Now, what I want you to do at the same time that when I'm coming in and you're defending yourself, can you monitor this hand
Okay.
with inside one? One more time. Here, give me a one, please. See, and we do that, and you keep playing. Right now, watch. Okay, so I'm literally monitoring and still catching the
Right.
arm as I go. So what I'm getting at is that if I have an arc and it's going out from the body as my body is turning, whether it's a vertical arc or an inside motion this way, the timing of the spiral, isn't that the technique? So if this is an actual loop going out, quite literally, if I'm early,
Right.
I get to actually hit that opposite hand and come in, or maybe I'm actually cutting the arm, or maybe it's the hand, or maybe it's on the weapon. Isn't that just timing the arc of the spiral?
And it's just depending on what you want to do with it.
And depending upon the style, these guys will go off on their own technique.
Right.
But again, what am I talking about? Just the water.
Yeah.
Just the water. Just how to create the actual motion versus all the different applications. So if you wanted to talk about in a knife and how this works with knife, show me how you defend yourself against that.
Oh.
Hey, look at that! Did you guys see that? The reaction to it again. Oh, good. Do it again. Good. Isolate that and get rid of that. Hey, look at that. You know, you walked into it. That's
Right.
all right. But notice if you just moved back and did the cut, that counter cut, isn't that a defense? You've seen it a billion times.
Yeah.
So a 1 answers a 1, a 2 answers a 2. How many times have you done this?
Right.
3 answers